everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we're gonna dive into the Age Perfect line from L'Oreal. This is kind of new. I've had my hands on it for a little while now. I've probably used these products for 5-6 days before giving this review. I really wanted to establish kind of a consistent pattern of behavior from these products before I got on talking to you about them. But we're talking about a foundation, a concealer, a blush, and several different lip colors. Today I'll try them all on for you and I'll offer up my review. It's just going to be my take, my opinion, my experiences that I've had with these products. I got them all on Ulta's website, and this is a line that's specifically for aging skin. And I would say more the specific concern that it's trying to target is dryness. I feel like everything here is trying to cater to hydration, and if that's not really something you need, this may not be your ideal line. For me, I am a normal to dry skin type. I thought it might suit me. I thought it might have some good qualities for my skin, and I've heard some amazing things about like the foundation specifically here on YouTube. So I wanted to try it for myself. So here is my full try on. We are starting off with the foundation, and I've already moisturized. I've got a fairly light moisturizer on underneath compared to what I might normally use, just because I've realized how much hydration is actually in this foundation. So I've almost used up this Laneige Water Bank Moisture Cream sample. I've got a little bit of my Tula brightening stick around the eyes, and now we're going to go in with the foundation. This is the Age Perfect Radiant Serum Foundation. It does have SPF 50, and it claims to have antioxidants and a concentrated serum. Looking up a little bit more about this on Ulta's website, it says it's going to provide your skin with B3 while also being suitable for sensitive skin. Claims to not settle into fine lines, and it says makeup especially designed for mature skin. While I know my skin is in the process of maturing, as all of our skin is, I'm not on the most mature end of things, but I've just heard so much buzz about this product, I really wanted to test it for myself. And I tend to like things that offer a little extra hydration. So it does claim to be a lightweight formula, and the way they describe the coverage of this, they say it's going to even tone, providing natural radiant coverage. So let's go for it. I've got the shade Cream Beige. This does seem like a really good shade for me. I get basically a pearl-sized amount, and I'm going to dab this around. I give special attention to the key areas where I know need the most coverage. That's where the most dabs go, and then the rest just kind of gets smoothed out elsewhere. And look, aren't you guys proud of me? I got a regular old full-sized expert face brush. Not that there's anything wrong with this one, but I got one with a normal-sized handle. And I want you to watch closely at what happens with the coverage here, because it really is some beautiful coverage for as light as this feels. Like, there is a beautiful, even yet radiant look. Sometimes the more radiant foundations just don't end up looking as perfect, and it's really surprising how much coverage this seems to have, given its really moisturizing qualities, you know? So after getting this all blended in, I feel like the skin looks beautiful. You know, I wouldn't call it full coverage, but I would say it's a really impressive medium coverage given this finish of foundation. I naturally want to compare it to the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow. That's one that I really love. I've compared that one even to the Wonder Glow from Charlotte Tilbury. This, I would say, seems even more like rich with moisture, but kind of similar on the coverage level and the look on the skin. I'm going to address staying power a little bit more going forward, but that's kind of where this product loses some of its appeal for me, because I tell you, by like midway through the day, I can wear this and look at my skin, and I feel like it's disappeared on the T-zone, specifically the nose. It's not like maybe it's wearing down a little bit, it's like usually gone when I wear this. Now I tend to be able to set it and bring it back to life a little bit and do whatever I need to do to touch up, you know, but I'm talking even with putting this on, you know, doing my whole look, setting it with powder, it doesn't seem to be quite enough to get all day staying power out of this. Now, if you've got even drier skin than me, I've got kind of a normal to dry skin type. You know, I'm on probably the less dry end of dry, especially right now. And keep in mind, I'm putting it through the hardest time of year. It's very humid here. I go outside, I take walks multiple times a day. I've gotten a lot more active. I feel like some skin types may be drier than me and may have a really really good result with this all day, you know? But we're gonna stop on the foundation for now and actually move on to the concealer. So this is the Age Perfect Radiant Concealer, and I have it in the shade Ivory. This I'm really enthusiastic about. I was comparing it in my mind to the Infallible Pro Glow. This is a concealer I've actually nearly used up. I think it's really good as far as lightweight concealers go. I've referenced it in the past in terms of like if you pop on a BB cream or a CC cream and you want just kind of a light concealer that's gonna mesh with that whole vibe of, you know, light coverage on the skin. This covers some things, but it really doesn't look heavy at all. It's not like luminous from a shimmery standpoint or anything. It just kind of does have a little radiance to it, and I've liked that concealer a lot. I also like taking something really lightweight and then popping on a fuller coverage concealer, and I think if you work with your blending just so, that can look really flawless too. The way I would compare this new one to that would be, this is richer in texture, similar in appearance, but a richer, more hydrating texture. I'm gonna go ahead and dab this around. I'm gonna give myself a little bit here. I'm gonna cater to this area out here. I'm applying it semi-generously, I would say. It's definitely thin. It feels thinner to me than like the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. Right at the get-go, you get some on your finger and you're like, oh, it feels real thin. But you start blending it in and you can tell there's definitely some added hydration in this. And you start to feel that once it just begins to set a little bit. Does anybody know what I'm saying here? So I'm just dabbing over this. Let's look at the coverage it gives. You know, it does kind of help out that melasma area there. I'll hit the inner corner with a different brush in a moment. You know, the concealer really is a major high point for me from this collection of things, and it'll be probably the thing that I go forward and use most, outside of one other thing that I'm going to get to in a moment. I like to take this little bit smaller brush. But I feel like this is a very under eye friendly concealer. You know, I think it brightened me up. It's not going to be as thick and heavy as a Shape Tape. Not quite as much coverage, in my opinion, as a Shape Tape. But if you're not dealing with the darkest of the dark discoloration, I just think it has a really fresh look there. It definitely keeps this radiant vibe going throughout your makeup. I really enjoy that concealer. I would say I like it even better than this Pro Glow because, like I said, it's coverage, but a hint more thickness, a little more moisture too. But if you're hearing what I'm saying and you're like, I like a lighter, you know, kind of radiant foundation, but I don't know if my skin can handle that amount of moisture, or I'm worried about the staying power, you know, look to the Infallible Pro Glow line, because it'll be kind of like this look, but a little less richness and texture. Now guys, I'm not sure if there's a powder in this line. I got every element of this line that was being sold on Ulta's website, so that's what we're working with today. We've got a blush and some lip colors coming up, but for now, just to finish the complexion, I'm going to take just a little setting powder. This is my Laura Mercier Translucent Pressed. I'm going to give this a light dab around the under eye. I'm gonna definitely set my T-zone and give it a little more than I might usually, because again, I just think this foundation needs a little more setting. It definitely has that kind of tacky feel left behind on the skin. And long wear isn't really a claim of this product, so you can't knock it too hard from that angle, but at the same time, you know, we're living our lives. We don't want to have to feel like we need a major touch-up if we're doing one thing in one part of the day and then we want to shift and do something in the evening too, you know. It'd be really helpful if things could just hang around, right? And I'm going to take my L'Oreal True Match powder that's in a little bit more of a skin tone match shade for me. That's Buff Beige. I'm just going to go over the rest of my skin fairly lightly with this. I'm not trying to undo everything that makes this foundation beautiful, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm going to give myself a little bronzer. This is my Hourglass Diffused Bronze Light. Absolutely adore this bronzer. Talked about it many times. I think it's just so easy to pop on and just gives the best look. And then we have a blush from this line. This is the Age Perfect Radiant Satin Blush. I have it in the shade Rosewood. The compact here is such that it has a bottom side. There's a mirror. I don't know if there was supposed to be an applicator down there, but there never was. And this was just an online order. Everything had a seal on it. This blush in texture, it reminds me a lot of just L'Oreal's True Match blushes. You touch it and yeah, it seems like there's some pigment there, but it's not like wildly soft or anything. You know how some blushes you just like tap and you're like, whoa, that's gonna be a little bit goes a long way product. Here you can pick up that there's a little bit of a sheen, but it's just not a super loud blush. It's not necessarily a formula that I would describe as a little goes a long way. I only have a couple of blushes from L'Oreal's True Match line, so I can't say for sure like if this shade might be totally overlapping with something. But it is a pretty blush, I'll give it that. I tend to love the end result I get after I put this on because it's kind of like lightly rosy. Deep skin tones may struggle to make this really show up in a big way. It's a buildable blush. Any sheen with this is, you know, it's present, but it's very subtle. Kind of walking that line between matte and satin. It's just really trying hard to be both in my book, but it does have a little sheen. Alrighty, so there's the cheeks. I'm gonna end it there on the face steps. I think I'll go ahead and do brows and eyes and come back and we'll talk about lips. There's the eyes. I just used my Viseart Neutral Mattes Malo palette and the Essence Lash Princess in the green tube, and I got like a few dabs of mascara from my lower lashes down under here, so I had to like reapply a little concealer, top it off again. But finally in this video we're going to talk about the lipstick, and this is a formula that I really enjoy. It is not long wearing. It does not get me through like a whole chunk of a day, especially drinking water, talking, whatever. If you put this on in the morning and you wanted it to look fresh by lunchtime, you would probably need a reapplication somewhere in there, okay? But still, the color is beautiful. I'm primarily talking about Bright Mocha here when I give my descriptions. The color is beautiful. The moisturization is great. The way the lipsticks are, you know, they're packaged in kind of L'Oreal classic packaging, except it's white, and there's kind of a core in there, which looks like purely white when this thing is new. But this shade called Bright Mocha is my absolute favorite. I got this and then I quickly repurchased two more. These seem a little bit heavier color-wise. I don't know. This one just looks so radiant on the lips. Let me put it on. It's super smooth. I love that naturally rosy kind of shade there. It almost seems like it has a little satin finish, but like I love that. I want to pick this up and wear this all the time. It has a little bit of a scent, kind of a little bit of a classic L'Oreal scent, if you know what I mean. There's some fragrance to it, but it doesn't bug you once the product is on. One thing I'd like to point out, these are kind of soft, hydrating lipsticks, and you got this telltale little imprint right here where perhaps you've put it on. The bullet has slightly come in contact with that outer packaging. That tells me maybe this is a formula that should have been in one of those sticks where the packaging is like right beside it all the way up. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Like this Revlon one. See the difference? You don't have a bullet kind of floating in its traditional lipstick packaging, but you've got this tube going all the way up, hugging the bullet. I think more moisturizing lipsticks really need that, otherwise they start to move just a little bit. So something to think about. That's the one downside to this. That and the staying power, if that's a concern for you, but I can't get over how much I love that shade. I will try on my other two, and really here's why I went for the shades I did. I got Beautiful Rosewood and Rich Chestnut. I felt like Bright Mocha, it's very hard to gauge how things are on the website, but I thought it kind of turned out to be a more subtle shade, just depth-wise than I was expecting, but these that I have seem more intense. By the way, this one arrived like gouged, but whatever. This is the shade called Beautiful Rosewood. To me, this shade is like your classic warm pink. I'm not so in love with the shade. I wanted to show it to you here, but the texture is still great. It still has that very moisturizing formula. And now this one is Rich Chestnut. It's a very fall-like shade, and it actually went on pretty evenly for being a lip color that's this deep. One thing to keep in mind, though, is it's not one of those lip products that's rooted in super long wear. So you're wearing a deep shade, you take a little bit more of a risk when it's in a moisturizing, creamy, hydrating formula such as this. So I have these other two shades. They're okay. Honestly, the one that I just absolutely am over the moon for is Bright Mocha. I think that shade is just so universal and pretty. And to me, that's definitely the kind of lipstick where if I ran out of this, I would repurchase it, you know? All I wish is that they could adjust the packaging design so something's really hugging that bullet and it won't shift toward that outside part. So guys, as far as the completed look goes, you know, I feel like the skin's looking great right now. When this stuff is freshly applied, this is where you get to really just bask in the beauty of the coverage level, and nothing's breaking down on the skin yet, and everything's looking really quite nice. Now, I'm not saying you can't salvage this foundation or this look if you would need to touch up, because it wasn't that hard for me. What I did was actually dabbed a little extra concealer over my nose. I remember one day I took this from morning all the way to evening when Bub and I actually went on a date. Yes, a date. So I remember I dabbed on some concealer. I kind of reset it with powder in the T-zone, and the rest was looking all right. But really, anytime I wear this foundation, I just get such a breakdown in the T-zone. It really is hydrating. That may be exactly what the doctor ordered for some of you out there. For me, might be my skin type, might be this time of year really putting it through some stuff humidity-wise. It just does not have the best staying power. It's really not the kind of thing I would want to be wearing under a mask. I feel like the transfer off onto that mask would be extreme, you know, because it is a bit more of a dewy foundation, not just in appearance, but also in the feel. Now, I do want to mention this L'Oreal Visible Lift Serum Foundation. This is one that I've been using a lot lately also, and in comparison, like, this does have a gently radiant look, but it's not really as moisturizing. It is very thin, and it has a beautiful look, a pretty coverage level on the skin, kind of a similar coverage level to this one. This I know is available at Walmart. I'd have to check to see any other retailers where you can find this, but this is an older product. It's a really great one, and I would say, how does this match up with L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation? Maybe not quite as glowy, but it's a really fascinating product because it's so thin, yet it offers nice coverage and it wears better. It definitely got better staying power for me than this one. Blush in this line is kind of like take it or leave it. I wouldn't feel the need to seek out any more shades or really say, hey everybody, you gotta rush out and get this blush. It's so special. I think it's pretty, but I don't think it's doing anything super different. It's one of those borderline kind of between a matte and a satin kind of blushes, and it's okay, but it's not blowing my mind. My favorite parts of this line would be the concealer and the Bright Mocha lipstick. The shade Bright Mocha, I just think, wow, do I love that or what? It's kind of a Your Lips but better, but a little more rosiness, a little more warmth. Let's face it, my lips are nothing like this shade on their own, but I'm loving what this color brings to the table. You can see it pairs really nicely with this warm eye, and the concealer, as you saw, nice coverage, a little more richness than the Infallible Pro Glow concealer. Perhaps you're one who has tried the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer and you thought, I don't need that much thickness or coverage. I want something a little bit lighter than that, but that's still going to be hydrating and not too drying on the under eye area. I think you might really like this if you're a person in that category. But if you want the most extreme coverage, you know, it's not going to the Camo Concealer place. It's not going to the Shape Tape place, or, you know, fill in the blank with whatever ultimate full coverage concealer you've tried. It doesn't go quite that far, but its high points are the nice fresh look, the hydrating feel in an area where many of us can use a little extra hydration. So friends, that's this 36-year-old's take on this makeup line. I hope my review was helpful to you. You may not have the same experience as I do, but I just wanted to share, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.